Jose Mourinho has committed football's biggest robbery. He's one of the most successful coaches on the planet, but it wasn't always like that. He started off like any other coaching, looking to get into the game until one season changed his life and his career. Growing up, all Jose knew was football. His dad, Felix Mourinho, was a coach, and as soon as Jose could walk, he got introduced to the game. Everything was going great until the Christmas morning that changed his life. That morning, 9-year-old Jose opened the mailbox thinking it was a gift for his dad. But when he read the letter in front of the whole family, it left them shocked. His dad got sacked, and from there on in, Jose decided to do all he could to help out. He got so involved with the game that when he was just 12, he was already preparing his dad's scouting reports. Jose went pro and played as a midfielder for Belenenses and Rio Avenue. But when he turned 24, he figured he did his best work on the touchlines. So he cut his career short and retired from the game to go into coaching full-time. He started studying sports science, football methodologies, and even worked as a PE teacher so he could pass his knowledge of the game. And that's when his career went on the rise. After Jose decided he'd get into coaching, he got the opportunity of a lifetime. Sporting CP's coach Brian Robson was looking for a new translator. And when Jose's name popped up, he thought he'd be the perfect fit. So he gave Mourinho the job, and just a few minutes into the conversation, Robson couldn't believe what was in front of him. The man was a genius. Immediately, Robson had Jose promoted from the role of translator to assistant coach, and for the next 7 years, they went everywhere together. He took Jose to Porto and Barcelona, and even got Jose and Pep to coach together on the same team. Incredible! See guys, all this time, Jose was studying the game and learning from the best. And when he was finally ready to do it on his own, he faced the first big challenge of his young career. This was supposed to be his dream job, but just a few matches in, Jose was living in a nightmare. He took over at struggling Benfica in 2000. When Jose came in, the transfer window was shut, and the team was a disaster. They were so bad that before Jose even made it to the first press conference, they lost another game. Still, Jose managed to get a couple of decent results, including a 3-0 win over their biggest rival, Sporting. But after elections were held, the new president decided to make changes and took Jose off the team, just 11 matches in. This experience would shatter any coach, but Jose was determined to prove he could make it to the top, even if it meant starting from the extreme bottom.
I am Jose Mourinho.
Jose's next challenge was taking up the União de Lira coaching job. A lot of people didn't really know much about these guys, and unlike the previous clubs Jose had been in, this one had a tiny transfer budget. Still, Jose proved he could still play football manager before the game even existed. Because due to his extensive knowledge of the hidden gems in Portugal, he began scouting wonder kids and underrated talents all over the country. And pretty soon, Jose took this relatively unknown team from battling relegation to finishing 4th in the league, a point ahead of Porto. And this was all the convincing they needed to know Jose was the next big thing in the game. So after the season, Porto struck up a deal with Jose to become the new manager, and this was the best decision in the club's history. As soon as Jose got to Porto, he made it clear to them what he was thinking. See, he'd lived in the city and coached there way back with Brian Robson. So, in his first meeting with the team, Jose went into full beast mode. "You are the worst team this club has had in 2 generations. Whoa! After that, he promised the fans he'd change everything, and he really wasn't kidding. Because starting from the training sessions, all the years of studying behind the scenes finally paid off. He adopted a more scientific approach to the training sessions, but even better, he made the players believe that they were superheroes, invincibles, monsters. They could do anything and beat anyone if they believed. And in the games that followed, the team's morale went sky high. But a few things were missing from this piece for Jose. He believed he needed players who'd buy into his idea and do anything for him. And that's when it completely revolutionized the team. Only 4 players remained from the team Jose took over. He cleaned house with everyone else, selling the likes of Jorge Andrade for $13 million to Deportivo, Carlos Paredes for $4.8 million, and Hugo Ibarra to Boca Juniors for €400,000. Now, he could have used all this money to get in mega superstars, but Jose remembered his roots in União and how he used his wonder kids and hidden talents to dominate the league. And if it worked then, there's no way he'd stop his tradition. So Jose went on a shopping spree and began picking unknown gems in the region, bringing in players like Nuno Espirito Santo from Deportivo for $3 million, Jan Kuskas for $2.4 million, Marco and Paulo Vieira for $3.1 million, Delari, Nuno Valente for $1.2 million, and snapping free deals for Machine and Pedro Emanuel. Now, Jose's Portuguese version of the Avengers was complete, and when he finally gave the order to assemble and destroy, it was utter chaos. That season in 2002 and 2003, Porto went on to win the league with a record number of points in a single season. But it wasn't just in Portugal Jose was making waves. In Europe, Jose set out on another mission and led his underdog Porto team to win the UEFA Cup in 2003, with Delari scoring 12 goals and Deco providing more assists. Now, the whole world knew this team was special, and pretty soon, Porto started receiving bids from top clubs for their players. And when Jose noticed this, he called an emergency meeting behind closed doors and delivered his master plan. Winning the UEFA Cup was great, but if you stay with me and give me one more season, we will win the Champions League. Every player under Jose's new dominating force had a role to play. And even the guys on the bench, after hearing Jose drop his announcement, it wasn't even a decision to contemplate. They all agreed to stay and fight for Jose's crazy idea, but Jose knew the plan wasn't complete yet. The team still needed a few adjustments, so he decided he'd sacrifice some of his own to complete the job. Postiga left to Spurs for $9 million and Capucho to Rangers for $1 million. With the new funds, he still kept the policy and brought Brazilian wonder kid Luis Alberto for €2.5 million, Benny McCarthy on a free transfer from Celta Vigo, and as soon as the transfer window got shut, Jose knew he now had the team to carry out the ultimate mission in European football, winning the Champions League. But this chosen team didn't get off to the best start. Actually, they were horrible. By match day 2, Porto was at the bottom of the Champions League group, but it still didn't make Jose break a sweat. He believed completely in his master plan, so he called up the boys again, and after one of the most convincing and brutal pep talks ever, they kicked it up a notch and hit full speed. 34 games unbeaten in all competitions? Incredible! They beat Marseille home and away, beat Partizan Belgrade, and in a final match against the almighty Real Madrid, they somehow sneaked a point to finish second in the group. But this point came at a loss, man. Because in the game, Darley injured his ACL, and he was going to be out for a long while. So when the draws came out and Porto was set to face Manchester United in the round of 16, no one even gave them a chance. People were expecting Sir Alex Ferguson to completely destroy Jose's Porto, and now without Darley too? It looked like an easy win for United, but in the first leg at the new Estadio Dragão Stadium, Jose set his plan into motion, and after 90 minutes, he left the entire footballing universe stunned. Porto 2, Manchester 1. It was a huge win, but because of all the away goals rule, all United needed was to score in the second leg, keep a clean sheet, and they knocked Porto out. Jose already predicted his team going behind, and after they did, it looked like the dream was over. The match went into 90 minutes, and some United fans were already celebrating. We're finally gonna crush this dude! But Porto had one last chance. With a free kick in stoppage time, Costina managed to slam home the rebound and silence the whole United fan base. They'd done it, knocked a heavyweight out. Now people were starting to sit up and pay attention to Jose's Porto team, so when they faced Lyon in the quarterfinals, the pressure was on. See, Lyon was on fire. They'd won the French league 7 times in a row, but it didn't faze Porto. They won the first leg 2-0, before drawing the second 2-2 and advanced to the semis, where they came up against one of the most informed teams in Europe. Deportivo La Corona was a sensation back then. Despite having Real Madrid and Barca, Deportivo won La Liga 4 years back, and in the quarterfinals, they thumped AC Milan 4-0. The two teams no one expected to make it this far were facing each other for the biggest ticket in club football. It was tense. The first leg ended 0-0, and the second leg was looking to be about the same thing, until Jose remembered something. This Deportivo team liked to tackle hard, and because of that, they had 7 players who were just a yellow card away from missing the final. And that's when the ultimate mind games kicked in. Jose instructed his players to get into their heads. If you kick or hit me and the refs book you, you're out of the final. Because of this, the Deportivo team was scared to make tackles, and pretty soon they started crumbling, and with just 30 minutes to go, they finally broke down. A penalty to Porto. See now, by this time, Darley was back from his ACL injury, and when he was on the pitch, this happened. Jose trusted no one else with the responsibility of taking the pen, and as Darley placed the ball on the spot, everything flashed before his eyes. This was the chance of a lifetime to fulfill Jose's master plan. So he stepped up to take the pen, and boom, he scored. The tears started rolling down his face. It was all too much for him. So Jose took him off, and the guys on the field did enough to see the result. Porto was in the final. They'd won the league again under Jose. But they couldn't celebrate it much because everyone had eyes on the Champions League final in Monaco. The Monaco team had players like Evra and Ludovic Gali, so it wasn't going to be an easy task. But Jose had prepared his boys for these big moments, and in the final, Monaco didn't stand a chance because they tore them apart. Luis Alberto opened the scoring to become the youngest goal scorer in Champions League final history before goals from Deco and Alinachev sealed the result. They'd finally done. Impossible mission was a success. Against all the odds, Jose and his team of wonder kids and misfits had somehow managed to conquer the whole of Europe. The result was incredible for Jose, but he knew it wasn't just down to his tactics alone. He had players who were willing to do whatever he told them to. So when the press guys asked him about the match, he could only say one thing. I don't like to call it my masterpiece. It's our masterpiece. Amazing! Jose brought together a group of people no one believed in, made them superstars, and kicked off their careers after winning the Champions League. Jose fulfilled his promise to them and allowed some of them to leave. Paulo Vieira, Carvalho, and Jose Bosingua all joined Jose at Chelsea and won the Champions League again. Deco finished second in the Ballon d'Or and switched to Barca. Maniche became a legend and joined Atletico Madrid. And even though Darley and McCarthy couldn't quite enjoy the same success others did after Jose set them up, it still doesn't take away their spot in the greatest robbery team in football. All masterminded by Jose. He stole the Champions League off the big boys' hands, and in the most ridiculous way ever. See, Porto made over 130 million through player sales, and no other club made more during this period. And because of Jose's policy on transfers, they'd never spend more than 18 million in a single window. Now, I'm not a math genius, but that's heavy profit. Jose's untold story about his Porto team is incredible, but what happened to Ronaldinho a couple of years back is insane. Dude went from being the best in the world to the best in prison? I bet you want to find out more of what I'm talking about, so click this video right here.